Commissioner Falk available online? If he's joining. Commissioner Falk, are you there?
That's Mr. Lloyd from the Herald,
Yes.
or Joe Lloyd is from the Sheriff's, not the Herald, sorry.
Commissioner Falk.
Here he is.
Okay. All right, good afternoon, Commissioner Falk.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All commissioners are present and you are available by the squeaky microphone. And so do you want me to chair this meeting or would you like to do it?
I think it's much easier if you do it.
Okay. Well, we are here at 1:30 to discuss the administrative services, the home rule discussion. I believe Mr. Ford had sent out a tentative list of committee members. Wherever he went. He disappeared. But, you know, we're here today to have further discussion on home rule, which I think is a good idea. Mr. Falk, do you have any words of wisdom to share with us?
No, I agree with you. I think we need to expand the list that Mr. Ford sent out because there are some on there I know won't be able to serve for various reasons. So I think we need to look for as broad a group as possible.
I know there has been some discussion within the committee about the possibility of making a motion at the commission meeting at 4 o'clock. We really haven't talked about the number of, let me see, Ms. Wamstead, can you remind us the number that we can have within that group, that committee, to come together with the chart, to put the charter together?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, with regard to the Home Rule Charter Commission Committee, there is no limit as to the maximum that can serve on the committee. But the statute provides that it must be composed of at least 5 members.
Okay, so we're looking at least 5, in looking at how many we talked about in previous committee meetings, that we were talking, what, 7 to 9 potentially, not wanting to make it too large. And then the other thing we had discussed at a prior meeting was that we would like to put together or have suggestions of what we want in the charter itself, not to expand it too much. I believe that our discussion was to keep mills the same that they were, just looking at a sales tax, I believe, that would be put a percentage of a percent. We didn't even talk about the percentage at this point, but obviously, and I have not done enough research with other home rule charters, I don't think we would want to have it include up to, do they have up to a certain dollar amount? You know that, Mr. Ford?
Madam Chairman, Commission, it just depends on the charter.
Okay.
The majority of home rule county charters in North Dakota are very similar, and where they differentiate the most is in that additional revenue, whether it's to combine mills, which this group is not talking about doing, increasing mill levy authority, which this group is not doing, or some even say go as far as to, we'll ask the people for a 0.5-cent sales tax to go towards, and then the charter specifically says what it'll go towards. So it just depends on what the county commission wants to do.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair, this is Tom. Yeah, I think that we want a general charter, and then at some point we'll have to ask on this that we're able to implement sales tax, but we'll have to ask the voters separately to implement it. But as long as we have the powers in the general charter, then you can use them as you wish over the next many decades or whatever. Well, one other thing that I think I learned with Mr. Ford and I had a couple of different meetings involving home rule with people that knew, one Lloyd Amdahl and one with the Cass County Administrator. And I think the general census is that if we want to expedite things, and there is concern that we're going to have trouble getting to a home rule charter vote by June. But that if we want to do that, we probably need to limit our committee down to as small a number as possible so that they move towards consensus. Thank you.
What is your suggestion then, Commissioner Falk? Talking about committee size.
Well, I think we should look at 5, no more than 7, but 5 certainly works. 5 works for us, you know. But and then I think before we make any appointments, we have to know whether those people are willing to serve. And I'm sure that some of them haven't been talked to. We've got names, but and they're good candidates, but I don't know that they've actually been asked. So the other thing is, I think we probably should look at something like Cass County's charter as a template. It's quite obviously it's been successful. They were able to move it through fairly easily, although they had the advantage that the later on the voters knew that the diversion project might be able to be funded through that, so that helped them, I believe. But when it was initially passed, that wasn't on their ballot at all. Thank you.
One of the things I guess I was thinking of with Grand Forks County was the fact that we do have some very large car dealerships, some larger implement dealerships. And I guess my concern would be in putting a small tax or a tax onto vehicles, farm implements. And I know that obviously sales of homes is totally out. I would say any type of a retail sales tax. But I think that when we're looking at larger purchases that our residents and residents outside of the county are making, these vehicles are crazy. And I'm sure, Bob, you're aware of what the cost of vehicles are running. If what year we'll see new vehicles, I guess that that's kind of a gamble at this point because of the need for chips. But I think that we should, and we have talked about giving some terminology to the committee, you know, telling them that mills are totally out. We will keep our mills the same. But when we're talking about a sales tax, I think that it probably needs to get cut off at some point in time. And I don't know if that's consistent with other charters or not, but we're talking about, well, I think a large pickup right now is in the, not 100,000, but almost. It's crazy. Implements, you know, you're talking about farm equipment, that's extremely high. And I think that at some point we should have some cutoff for our citizens as well as individuals that are coming into the county. We know that Grand Forks County, or the city of Grand Forks, is a major hub for Commissioner Rangan.
Finish your thought.
No, that,
I'm not trying to cut into it.
no.
Grand Forks' sales tax, what does it apply to as far as implement dealers or cars? Is it a straight anything, any retail purchase in the, of not real estate, but every personal property?
There is no, there's something with implement, actually, when implements are delivered to the farmstead, there is not a additional city tax on those implements. I can't tell you about vehicles, but I know with the tractors, large equipment, combines, things like that, if they're delivered, I believe they go with the sales tax of the county, not of the city. And I can't, that I know, but I can't tell you if there's any kind of a cutoff at the state As far as the dollar amount of those implements, I'm not sure. But
Madam,
that's, should probably research.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm not sure that we really know what we're talking about yet. I think we need to find out, at least in my mind, I agree with Commissioner Ringen. We need to find out what the city does, and
Sure.
my suggestion is we follow the city. And let's not complicate this. I understand that on higher ticket items, of course, it's a higher number, but also, you know, if it's a more expensive car, that person might be more likely to be able to afford it than someone on a less expensive car. The other issue, of course, is that if we start eliminating various items, we're going to have less sales tax revenue than we're projecting through from what we know from the city. Theirs is based on their numbers. And if we have less revenue, then we're going to have to increase the rate. So either way, there's going to be pain. So I just assume not have to increase the rate to reach our goals.
True.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ross?
Okay. Since that article came out in the paper and the news this morning, and I don't know how many people have come up to me now and said, "Oh, you guys are after home rule, you're gonna raise our taxes." It's like, no, that's not what it's about. Well, then you need to get the word out that this is not what this is about.
Right.
You know, I said it's,
We know that.
yeah, but the public does not know that, and they're already starting to circle the wagon, so.
Sure. Commissioner Ringen?
Well, that's one reason I think maybe, I agree, maybe 9 is too many. But the more people we have on this commission, we have more people committed to helping us sell the idea. So I'm thinking 7 is probably a good number rather than the minimum of 5. And as I mentioned, I think last time, radio callers are saying the same thing. Well, they're just they're gonna raise the property tax, they're gonna raise the sales tax. And in talking about taxes, I think you mentioned something about particular purpose and maybe sunset provisions on taxes. You want to be a little careful about shutting off the sales tax and having to go to a new vote if we, so we don't want to have a specific project with a sunset clause and then have to start all over, as long as we're in the same general things such as infrastructure or whatever. But I think Cass County is a great model. I mean, they're the biggest one. Learn what the city's doing with its sales tax and how Cass County handles it, we can probably move quickly. But that calendar is gonna flip real fast once we get started.
You're absolutely right. Commissioner
I
Knopf?
just want to add that I don't have a problem with 7 or 9 for the same reasons, I guess, that you're thinking, but also this is huge. I mean, it's going to be a big project. And, you know, I think the more people that we have on it, the better, you know, so that it doesn't fall on the shoulders of maybe 5 or 7 people. I mean, we're a big county and, you know, if we're going to do justice to this, getting the word out and getting it out, you don't want to wear these people out and bring them out. And so I think the more people that we can have on the committee, and they'll just, I mean, they'll have to come to a consensus. And hopefully they're all on board and going in the same direction to begin with. And so, you know, and a lot of times when they're going to go out and do some speaking or whatever to a club or an organization or whatever, I mean, it's nice to have a buddy to go with you. And so you're using maybe 2 people or maybe even more members of that group to do that. You know, and so I'm not opposed to having 7, 9 people, whatever it takes to get the job done.
Commissioner Ringen?
And of course, we can't be on the commission, but we can advocate. So we have to look at the next 4 or 5 months as something where we're gonna have to spend a lot of time ourselves, which scares the wits out of me because I'm trying to just get to meetings here. So we need people on here who can help plan. I know that Barry Wolfart offered a long time ago to help us with that. And that's the kind of platform that's pretty helpful. And there's a number of other people in bigger businesses in the city that I think we can all name in addition to this list even, so. I think there are plenty of good people. Ask them to get at it.
Madam Chair, can I just,
Mr. Ford.
when, as the commission discusses the home rule charter committee, the commission will want to come to a census if, when you're asking or appointing these folks, are they gonna be working to sell it as well? I've had a few folks that I know reach out, ask about, I'd be willing to volunteer. Then the next question is, but am I gonna be expected to go out there and pound the streets? I'm not interested in doing that. So that's something to keep in mind when appointing a member is asking, or what are you willing to do? Meet, come up with the charter, present it to the commission. Are you willing to go on talk radio or sit down with the Herald and do that as well? Just some things to consider. Cass County, Commissioner Ingen, you asked about how are they using their sales tax? The majority of their sales tax is going to their flood diversion project. In fact, I think Commissioner, Ms. Nelson and Ms. Longstadt were on the call with Cass as well. Just about all goes towards the flood diversion. Some goes to some infrastructure. You look at the Burleigh County Charter, it flat out says this, we want to ask the people for this rate and it will go towards this. So that people know exactly where that money is going and how it benefits them. Visiting with Mr. Omdahl, whom we all love and appreciate. He put it where he came and visited with me and Mr. Falk. We had some coffee with him, and he put it perfectly. You gotta give the people of the county the choice. It's either gonna be this way or it's gonna be this way. And he was talking about the correctional facility expansion. He's talking about juvenile detention center, culverts, roads, bridges, you name it. It's either going to be funded this pot of money or it's going to be funded. I see you've got to not only to let people know why you're doing this, but essentially you're giving them a choice too. You can do it this way or you can do it that way, and be very transparent and clear with the people.
So Ms. Wamstead, let me give you an example. Obviously, we have a group that will come together and put the charter, prepare the charter to bring it to the commission. If, say, I would like to go to the city council in Larimore and Gilby, or just having a discussion with citizens in the county, that's okay, correct? I mean, I just don't want us to get into trouble for all of a sudden going to the city council in Larimore and get some questions on home rule charter and why are you supporting this and what are you doing? It's giving them information, trying to be transparent, as Mr. Ford said, but I want to make sure that we all have a good understanding of what we can and cannot do in this case.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, that's a very good point you raise, and it's something to consider. The state has a Corrupt Practices Act that prohibits public funds or employees on public time advocating for a yes or no vote on any matter utilizing those county funds or resources. So if any of you wish to utilize your time to advocate at different organizations or whatever, it's so long as it's not expending any public funds or on official county time, it would be appropriate. Now, with the staff, it's a little more difficult. If it happens during business hours or something like that, that would be improper. Also, if the board wished to utilize some entity to do any type of PR work, public funds could be utilized to provide information, but not to advocate a position on the issue.
So in other words, if I were to attend that meeting in Larimer, as I can say I'm a commissioner, and if home rule charter becomes a topic, I can give them brief information on that, but I'm not charging any mileage to the county. Using any public funds to do that.
That would be correct.
Okay,
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here because we get compensated
right.
monthly for, and basically, I mean, we're on duty 24/7.
I think
I
there's a
mean, we
difference.
don't set schedules, or we don't have set schedules, I mean, we have official meetings. But nonetheless, I mean, you take phone calls anytime somebody contacts you. And so does that enter into it at all? I mean, because you are on county time and you are,
And there's something specific though about commissioners giving an opinion or someplace that says you can do that. You can't do it, officially a county trip or something, but we're only part-time employees
Correct.
and we don't have, we're not benefits, we're just kind of,
Hours.
it's just, we're compensated for the committee meetings we have to go to and for the commission meetings. But I think we are allowed to pretty free rein to express opinions on this topic. Is that correct?
Commissioner Engen, no, members of the commission, that is correct. So long as you're not expecting any additional compensation such as mileage or otherwise for attending a particular event or anything like that, it essentially would be considered, on your own time that you would be attending a particular organization or whatever.
And that we don't ask for a yes or no.
If you're on your own time,
Right.
you can advocate,
Yeah.
but,
Well, just lay the facts out. You don't ask for a yes or no.
Right.
This is what it is.
Just a follow.
Commissioner Ross, this is Tom. I think you can advocate your opinion. You don't have to just advocate the facts. You can give your opinion as long as you're not getting paid for that as a commissioner.
Okay.
Mr. Engen, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I lost my train of thought there. It was listening to the wisdom of Mr. Falk, I lost my train of thought. I'll get it in a minute.
That's okay. So as we're looking at moving forward, it's Tom and I that are on this particular committee. I can make a suggestion, or he can you're the chair. I'm the chair today though, so you can be the one if you want to make a motion that will carry on to the full commission about moving forward with home rule, starting identifying who would be good individuals on a charter commission and how many we would want on that charter commission and when we would commence forward with that. I suppose that could be a motion that Commissioner Falk would bring forward at the full commission meeting, which takes place at 4 o'clock today. So we can start.
Yeah, I agree. I would actually make a motion that we forward to the commission that we decide to move forward with the home rule, that we continue to try to pull together a group of names that are willing to serve on it. And, it's difficult because I agree with, I forget who it was, Commissioner Engen or whoever, that indicated that there's two different standards here, one to serve on, to get the charter together, and then the other, whether you're willing to advocate for it. And I think just to be on the charter committee, you don't necessarily have to be agreeable to advocating outside of your job. Really, your only job is to put the charter in front of us. And so, I think we really strongly should all take a look at that Cass County Charter. That might be easy for that committee to move on. If we like a lot of those aspects of it, it's because we know it's successful. And then the other thing is that I think that we should also look towards having this committee meet again in 2 weeks before our commission meeting we're just gonna have to keep moving this along as quickly as we can. Thank you, that's all.
Commissioner Hagan.
I thought I had it come back to me.
Okay.
A question from Ms. Wamstead again. I suppose it's sort of like when we're running for election, you can't wander around the county office building talking to staff and pushing our views on that. I suspect we should stay away from that kind of opinion situation. Would that be accurate or doesn't it matter?
Commissioner Engen, members of the board, yes, I believe that's a good assessment. Specifically, the Corrupt Practices Act prohibits the use of funds or government resources to be used to advocate a position on a measure on the ballot. And so it probably would be a best practice to just keep it on your own. Or if you're discussing it on public time or with resources, to stick to the facts rather than advocating a position.
A good name for the law, get your attention. Corrupt Practices Act. We might want to stay away from that, I agree.
Absolutely.
I have a question,
Commissioner
I
Knopf.
don't have time.
and it's just, it popped in my head when Commissioner Falk had made a comment about, that you might have some that are going to help with, put the charter together, but not necessarily be out there and be an advocate or reaching out to people. And so what came to mind, I guess, is that, we're gonna compensate these individuals. And so then do we have different compensation if they're more actively involved with the advocate, or, they just are there simply to put the charter together and then they're done? And so, you're gonna have to look at that as well. If they're out doing being the advocate, they're out in front of the public, doing the work that we would like for them to do. To me, they should be compensated higher. And so how do you determine that? And who gets what and who doesn't?
Madam Chair, I think we're going down a slippery slope here. I don't know that, first of all, I'm not sure that we have to or want to compensate them, and certainly not compensate for going out in the public and advocating. Most people will be willing to do that on their own, but I just see some significant problems if we start going that route.
Yes, Ms. Wamstead.
Madam Chair, members of the board, getting back to our discussion with the Corrupt Practices Act, I don't believe their compensation can include advocating a position. By statute, they are required to have one public hearing. But I believe if we were expecting them to advocate a position, yes or no, on the measure, we couldn't utilize public funds to compensate them for that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I don't believe other counties have actually compensated theirs. You can, but I don't believe that's been widely done. But I believe mileage has been provided, so if someone from Larimore comes into town.
Sure.
And that's fine. It's just that we had said the compensation word before, and so I didn't know to what level or what, what our limits were on that, so.
I think it would make sense to cover any expenses of a committee member, driving being one, but probably not have a compensation for those individuals. I guess that would be my suggestion, or I would suggest that as part of the committee. Commissioner Falk, I just want to make sure that I understood you right. Are you looking at having another Administrative Services Committee meeting December 21st? Or are you talking about the beginning of January?
I think the sand is running through the hourglass of time, so I really think we need to keep, even if it's a short meeting on the 21st, I think we need to meet. And if there's something we can do, fine. If not, we can always cancel a meeting, but I think we should book it for right now.
Would you like to hold that meeting at 3 p.m.? No, do we have something on the 21st? We are meeting with
The Attorney General's
the
office
Attorney
at 2:30.
General's office at 2:30. So do you want to plan something at 1:30 or 2 PM on that day, Commissioner Falk?
Yeah, I think we could set it for 2 o'clock.
Okay. How about if we do 1:45 to make sure that we tend to be a little slow in starting. So I would suggest 1:45 since the Attorney General is going to be here at 2:30, correct? To meet with them.
He'll be on
Zoom,
Zoom at
okay.
2:30, but you have a meeting at 2.
Yeah, I know I do. And I'll go talk to them.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's great.
1:45 PM on Tuesday, December 21st. Also on that day, we are meeting via Zoom with the Attorney General's office. And so that is already on our agenda. And then I'll deal with the social services zone. Is it me, like, moving something?
Ma'am, I turned the mics down. I don't know, other than that.
I don't have anything magnetized on. So anything else that you wanted, Commissioner Engen?
There's some good names on this list, and I think
Yes.
we've got more. How are we gonna pick people? How are we gonna do that? Because is that just an administrative services, then a recommendation? Or would it be at the main commission meeting?
I believe
The
that.
three first?
I'll for the commission has to report.
Commissioner Egan, members of the commission, it would be up to the Board of Commissioners to appoint the folks on the Charter Commission. You don't need to do it at the same time that you motion to move forward with the home rule process. The appointment needs to be within 60 days after proceedings have been initiated.
So if that
Of the
appointment,
essence, so would we be? We have to talk to people first and say, if we ask you, will you serve? And then come with 8 or 10 names and say, let's hear a motion from each person about who would you want. I don't know how we should do it.
I think it would be respectful of the names of the individuals on the list to ask them prior to bringing their names forth. Just in case they have something with their professional careers, something that's big going on in their lives, whether their professional lives or their personal lives at this time. I think it would be of the most respect to probably check with them. If we were to make the motion today at the commission meeting, we could always have the names gathered or come together on the 21st so that we would have a list of individuals to serve on the board or commission prior to at the next meeting. And then at that point, whether it's determined to put a number of committee members on a second motion or on a motion at the meeting today, is that a possibility to list the number of commission members or committee members today, and then to fill those committee, you just have to do it within 60 days, but we could have a number listed today and vote on that at the committee or commission meeting, and then possibly the second commission meeting, which would be 2 weeks from today, to list the individuals that would be the final group. It would just be respectful for those individuals to be contacted prior. So they have the opportunity. It's, not like the ladies' church where if you're not there, you get elected chair.
So
So-
the list that we have right now, have those people been approached and asked if they would be interested in,
I have approached one and that individual has declined.
okay?
Commissioner Ross, I visited with a couple and they politely declined. So what I can do, Sarah, is remove those names and Chair Peach shared with me who the individuals I can remove them from the list and send it back out.
Okay.
And if there are any others that may have been brought up via conversation from any of the commissioners or the three sitting up here, Mr. Ford and Ms. Wamstead or Ms. Nelson, please bring them forward to Mr. Ford and let him know so that those individuals could be listed on that group as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
this is Tom. You know, and I think we should tell these folks that they don't have to go out and advocate for this concept after they finish their work. That's not part of serving on this charter committee. Now, if they want to, or if we ask them and they're willing to, wonderful. But to mandate it before they even get on the committee, I think is wrong. So, thank you.
thank you very much for your opinion. Does anybody else have anything to say about home rule charter at this point? I guess one of the things that I'd like to ask Mr. Ford is to get us the copy of the home rule charter for Cass County, so it can be reviewed prior to the next administrative services meeting. Anything else? Any other questions or discussion, Commissioner Ross?
Mr. Folk has a motion. You may
Yes.
vote here.
Yes, Commissioner Falk, he can just make it with me,
Okay,
but
okay.
then he'll carry that forward at the
Okay,
whole committee
okay.
meeting,
Okay,
when it comes to committee reports. And we can bring it up at that time. Is there anything else for the good of the order at this committee meeting?
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If not, then this meeting will adjourn and we will start the commission meeting at, excuse me, at 3 o'clock. We're meeting with the Department of Health and Human Services, the Regional Director, Lily Rigo. And so is she here in person or are we doing that via Zoom? Okay, so we are doing that via Zoom at 3 o'clock. So this group will come back together to meet with HHS. It's different now, Health and Human Services. We don't see that usually in North Dakota. So that's interesting to see those two groups coming together. And so at 3 o'clock, we'll have that meeting with her via Zoom. And then at 4 o'clock, we will have our regular commission meeting with the agenda. So thank you all very much for your participation.